We're continuing our series talking to all-state guest conductors. Today, we're talking jazz and contemporary a cappella on today's PMEA's Take Note podcast. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Despotakis, and welcome to this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. This is our second in a series of podcasts where we are talking to all-state PMEA All-State Festival guest conductors, and today we're talking jazz and contemporary a cappella. So we are starting with jazz, and I'm delighted to bring in the all-state jazz conductor, Paul Bratcher. Paul, thanks for being here.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Great. It's great to see you. So let's get right into it. Everyone wants to know about the musical program. So tell us a little bit about the highlights about the musical program you selected for the 2026 PMEA All-State Jazz Ensemble.
Sure. So I really like this program. I think one of the things that I try to do was to provide both the listener and the students an opportunity to play some music from a wide spectrum of jazz. So we've got some things from New Orleans. We've got some things inspired by New Orleans, but moved into a modern direction. We've got some more contemporary things. And so I think my goal is to find something for everybody that they can, hold on to and be an earworm that they take with them, as well as giving the students an opportunity to see what it's really like to play this music, especially outside of the academic setting. You can be on a gig where you're going to have the gamut of music. You might be on a gig where you're playing traditional jazz. You might be on a gig where you're playing straight ahead. It might be funk. And so being able to give the students an opportunity to explore everything and find which are the ones that really speak to them is part of my goal as an educator.
Yeah, very cool. Love to hear that. That you're focusing on the students and on the audience. That's really cool. But let's focus on the students for a second. It's the whole experience. It's not just the concert. It's the rehearsal. It's everything. So what are you hoping that the students in the jazz ensemble will get out of the experience? Being there and being in the jazz ensemble.
Sure. So I think for me at first, it's definitely begins with the relationships. If you think about jazz as a whole, part of it is about the music, but the other part of it is about the relationships that are built throughout the musicians being in these bands, the stories that go along with these musicians. And so, the first thing I want to establish is a relationship and a trust between myself and the other bandmates in the group. Being able to give them that freedom so that when I ask them to maybe step outside of their comfort zone, it's not like, oh, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to get an opportunity to stretch and to try some things that haven't been practiced. Part of jazz is about learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so after that, then it's about exploring the music and exploring what their voice is inside of the music. One of the things that I had growing up in my time in college is, while there are solos written in specific sections, I try to make sure that everybody gets a little bit of love throughout the ensemble. So trying to find and also give them an opportunity to speak up about what are the things that really call to them, and then how do we make the most out of our musical opportunity, both as a ensemble and then also as a soloist.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All those pieces of the puzzle. It's not just about playing the music. It's all of those other pieces, and there's some life lessons in there that you're sharing, which is very cool as well. So for you, what is it like to come in and stand for an honors ensemble? This thing that will only exist for a couple of days. This ensemble. With students that you've never met and are all just coming together for this common goal. What's that like for you to be there, especially with musicians at such a high level?
Well, I'm very excited. I think it's an amazing opportunity. I thank PMEA for the opportunity to work with these students. And, I think this type of program is one of the best things that we do as music educators, to give the students in our states an opportunity to see what life is like outside of our little bubble, whether that be our school community, our neighborhood community, and see what life is like. Some of the friends that some of the people that do this, they become friends. They see each other down the road. They see each other at different walks of life. And so it gives the students an opportunity to make memories and make long lasting friendships. With the internet, with technology, we're all just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Um, I was honored to host, to be a guest conductor in Vermont last year. I still am in contact with some of those students. They know that they're free to ask me questions. Some of them pick my brain about different things. And so, I think for me, just the opportunity to, pass on the torch and teach teach the values that I have been given from my mentors in jazz to the next generation is something that I think is super exciting.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you mentioned the technology piece. I think back to my days when I was in some of these honors ensembles, and I don't necessarily remember that people that I was with, but I've come into contact with them over time. We're like, wait a second, were we in region band together? And then we find the program book and like, well, yes, we were, because we didn't have that way to connect then. So that is really an interesting point that you make, because it is a once in a lifetime experience that only this group will have together. So and that's awesome that you stay in touch with some of those students. That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. What is one thing you would want students to know about you before they arrive in the Poconos for that first rehearsal?
That's a tough one. I think personally, I have to say I'm an avid Eagles fan. So for my friends on the western side of the state, I'm sorry.
I was
Still
going to
love
say,
you guys,
you've captured
but
half of the
you
state and you've
know,
annoyed the other half.
but go birds. But I think, musically, I think it's about having fun. And we can have fun and get the job done at the same time. So I hope they come in with an open attitude and myself included, and get ready to just enjoy each other's company for the next few days, because it's gonna be a fun ride.
Love it. And I will say, as someone on the western side of the state who is a Steelers fan, we still welcome you. We're still excited to have you be here with all of the students. And I'm sure that goes for all of the western students as well.
For sure.
So, Paul, thanks again for taking a little bit of time to talk to us. We look forward to seeing you in the Poconos here, and we're counting down the days and also hearing the All-State Jazz Ensemble. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Well, we're continuing now talking with our 2026 All-State Contemporary A Cappella Ensemble conductor, Spencer Camacho. Spencer, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start talking about what everyone always wants to know, the highlights of the musical program you have selected for the Contemporary A Cappella Ensemble.
Sure. So when I was thinking about putting this program together, I was thinking about the past 20 years of contemporary a cappella. And even just in these past 2 decades, there is such diversity in the type of music that is arranged and scored and performed within this world. Folks can very quickly and easily think of things like Pitch Perfect, but they might also think about international championship of collegiate a cappella winners and their sets, some music that are nods to humor, sometimes really looking at some of these top Billboard and Grammy winning songs and arranging them, but sometimes off the cuff songs and arrangements that you'd never typically imagine as being sung a cappella, as well as nods to theater and film. So, without giving away specifically what we're going to be exploring and singing within the program, it was really important to me to be able to design a set where students would really be able to be exposed to different genres within contemporary a cappella over the past 2 decades, and be able to explore how that sound differs and how their performance will also differ because of it, how they actually present themselves and interact with each other on stage. I would be remiss to not note that there's a lot of big set design culture within contemporary a cappella for both high school groups, collegiate, and beyond. And a part of that is having some sort of theme that connects the songs together. So again, keeping that under wraps for it to be a bit of a surprise for the audience, but the students will have some agency in exploring how these songs fit together and what type of story we're able to tell through the different songs of the program.
I like it, keeping us in suspense. Not a lot of
Yeah.
our conductors have done that in the past, so I appreciate that. I like that.
Good.
So let's talk a little bit about the students. What are you hoping that these students will get out of, coming together and performing in this ensemble?
Sure, yeah. So with contemporary a cappella groups, they are typically rather small compared to some other ensembles. We are going to be working with about 20 students for this ensemble, and there are power in small numbers in a small group like this. They will really be able to explore what does it mean to blend and balance with a small group and not necessarily with typical classical choral setups. And also with this comes a bit of heightened vulnerability, where if one person is sticking out, it's quite clear. So for students to really work on the formation of singing with a group of individuals that they have not worked with before, maybe they are coming into the program with one or two folks from their school as well, and will realize, oh, the way that we connect with this group musically is going to be different than how we connect within this all-state a cappella group. And I think that's really good for them to really be finding a new sound together. It's more than just the notes, the dynamics and rhythms that are on the page. It's also how they are able to unify their sound, their tone, to really shape it into something brand new. On top of that, I also really look at this as an opportunity for student agency. I view myself, while I might be coined as the conductor, at the end of the day, I really view myself as a facilitator. Of course, I'm there to guide the rehearsal structure and ensure that folks are set up for success. But students also have agency in terms of how we really tie this final image together. So when students are working through this, I really want to ensure that they are coming in not just understanding and having the notes ready that are on the page, but also ready to be a part of bringing this image to life.
Yeah, I really appreciate your point early on there when you're talking about, these students may be used to what they're doing in their own ensembles in their own schools, and this is unlike anything they've ever done. So coming together in this space, what an incredible learning experience! And I think it's all of the all-state ensembles are an incredible learning experience, but especially a small one where all of you are so key. Your roles are so key. So really interesting that you point that out. Appreciate that. So for you, what is this like? What is it like for you to we'll use your word, to be a facilitator of an ensemble like this, of students who've come together, who, as you mentioned, many have never met each other, and there's all these dynamics to it. What's it like for you?
Yeah. So I have been in the world of contemporary a cappella for over a decade, having the opportunity to write for groups across the country, produce a cappella albums, and really facilitate workshops and classes. And for me, something that I always have been excited to see continue grow is the K through 12 pool of contemporary a cappella, specifically within Pennsylvania. I think it is blossoming, and I think there are some really great programs that exist. And I think that there is also so much room for these programs to continue to grow within Pennsylvania. So while when I was in undergrad, had the opportunity to explore this at the collegiate level, I didn't really have any of this when I was in high school. So it feels very full circle to see the third iteration of the contemporary a cappella all-state at Pennsylvania, and being able to help facilitate this opportunity for students. I really want to honor the contributions that the students are bringing. These are top tier students and musicians that are coming in, and really help them continue to cultivate this practice, I also recognize that these students are student leaders. So even though this is just a weekend experience of us together as a group, it doesn't mean that they aren't going to be able to take this and bring this back to their schools, talk to their own teachers about it, and hopefully continue to see this practice of contemporary a cappella grow within the scholarly lens and the academic lens that teachers are able to bring to their students every day.
Yeah, really, really cool perspective there. So we are weeks away at this point. We can probably start counting down the days here pretty soon.
Yeah.
But what would be the one thing you would want those students to know about you before they arrive for that first rehearsal and as I always say, that first downbeat?
Sure. Yeah, I love that. Well, I think what I want students to keep in mind with me and my perspective is that a cappella is so much more than just the music. I do find that it is such a great environment for students to learn, understand culture, a space for shared opinions to connect with each other, and really grow as good people. That has always been my experience. This playground of making really great music together in this environment that has fewer musicians. They're not going to be lost in the sauce by any means.
Mhm.
They are just a couple folks together that are going to have a heavy responsibility. For me, I'm wrapping up my PhD in leadership right now, and my dissertation actually is the behaviors and cultural influence within a cappella groups. So for me, the music is one very important aspect of it, but also how they will be able to grow as a family, I think, is a really another important one. So I'm excited about that. And then I think as like a small little extra token, I have released several contemporary a cappella albums under the group Under a Rest. Of course, we always need a pun in the name. So 3 words, Under a Rest, and 3 albums. So if they're interested in hearing a little bit more from me musically and within a cappella, they can certainly check out some of our albums there.
Awesome. Well, I would certainly recommend they do that. Know your conductor, know your facilitator in this role. Spencer, thanks for taking some time to talk to us. We're looking forward to the surprises that you won't tell us about that we'll see at the concert in April. Thanks for being with us.
Of course.
And thank you all for being with us on this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. We'll see you next time.